going down, tired of myself, tired of this town.
Eminent Waste of Time, episode 50. I'm Steve.
And I am Cody.
And we're doing something a little different this time for episode 50.
We are. With us, we have Chad and Doug from Eminent Waste of Time.
Yes, that's us.
So this episode, we wanted to...
I'm not even sure what to say at this point.
We wanted to do something just a little bit different. And Cody hit me up this week and said, why don't we do something like find out what Chad and Doug and how they started, and let's do a reverse role for the 50th podcast. And I said, I'm in.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They do so much for everybody else, and we always hear about ourselves through them. How about we flip it around? This is 50. 50's a big deal. I mean,
we got a lot of swag.
Yeah,
I'm going to say the light up Neely Bopper things here and the necklaces were not necessarily my idea, but
yeah, I feel like I'm an alien. I really feel like.
So in like podcast years, you guys are like at a 400 now, right?
Yeah, I don't. Well, let's see if it's normally 7 is the give up time for most people.
7 times 7 is 49.
Yeah,
so
we're pretty much old.
You're
7 times plus 1.
Yeah,
way over.
So we wanted to hear their story. What they're up to, what brought them here, and what they're doing. So
I'm losing my antenna first, guys.
I was going to say it's not wanting to stay on there anyways. Okay, there we go.
So since this is the 50th show, I guess for me, I was I came in late on this. I don't know exactly what episode I started really following, but I think it was probably in the early 40s, late 30s, something like that. But so when did this start? What year?
At episode 1. That's where it started.
What year did it start?
We started last year. It was around this time.
I think it was right around this time. I want to say it was sometime in September.
We're right at it. Now, it seems weird because we actually started out with a monthly format. We were going to do one a month. Because
it was only going to be a half hour.
Right?
Yeah, and it was 30 minutes.
30 minutes, yeah.
And Doug and I were kind of both concerned when we started out, are we going to have enough content to fill 30 minutes?
Oh, this is going to be the 2-hour episode. We forgot to tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're not gonna make it,
we're not committing
3
to an
hours
hour
long, but yeah, if it goes an hour and 20 or 30 or something, then so
that's
be it.
fine.
We got to go till Josh Durman arrives with that pizza.
That's true. He did promise that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember looking at Chad because I suggested that we do a podcast. It really was kind of at the time we were racing.
Yep.
And we wanted some way to support our racing, not necessarily financially, but just kind of draw some attention to what we were doing. And we were in a CF Moto, which was odd for the area. Nobody really knew what they were.
That probably already draw attention to you.
It definitely did. People would see it on the line and they'd stop by and take a look at it.
I couldn't tell you how many people stopped and asked me how it actually did. And it did amazing in some ways. And I think we can get back to this later when we kind of talk about how racing went, because like you had mentioned earlier, we didn't get to do that. But it did amazing in some ways and horrible in others. But, yeah, the podcast, really, we started out to try and, I'm not saying draw attention. We tried to promote our racing like any good racing team or business would do. You try and promote yourself and show, here's what we're doing, and people who are interested, you want them to get in behind you and, to back you on it. We actually had the attention of several high-ups in CF Moto at the time. And they were eyeing us, and I had actually a guy who was a high-up in CF Moto offered me a job. But in CF Moto, I would have had to move to Thailand to do it, and I was not moving to Thailand. So
I could have been rid of you that easily.
Yeah.
See you bye.
Opportunities missed.
So no, I wasn't about to do that. But
so you guys joke about it on the podcast all the time. How did the racing go with that CF Moto?
The thing was lightning fast.
What size was it?
800.
I was going to say, we'll qualify that. 4 and 800.
Yeah, 4 and 800. It was lightning fast, 4 and 800.
Dual overhead cam?
Yes.
Okay.
And really, I'll say it too. It is a clone of the Rotax motor is really what they are.
Yep.
A lot of the parts will interchange, not all of them, but some will. But it's a quick bike. The suspension is pretty good on it. There are some weak points. I'm not saying it was a perfect bike by any stretch. It did good, but it did not lend itself well to being modified. And that thing was trying to kill me every moment we raced it. And the brakes were the worst thing I've ever put my feet on.
I think we've talked about this before in other podcasts, but Chad would always, okay, you need to tell me to brake later into that corner. I'm like, brake later? What? We almost blew it because there's no brakes to begin with. You can't shave another 15
Doug
feet
would
off.
look, and I'm pressing all I got for
You're
the brakes
through the
to
floor
try
on
and get
these
it to
things.
stop, and it wouldn't. And I'm like, I think I can brake later.
I'm like, no, there's nothing there.
So it was really fast off the line. I got it to where I would bump start it prior to and load the compression and kind of get a little fuel in the cylinders, like when they call 10 seconds at a start line, and then we could always pretty much start first, and Plank is kind of the other one who is in our series, who he was quick too. We almost always beat him, off the line.
You beat Plank off the line?
Oh, he'll tell you. I mean, we were the ones that run right with him, and we could outrun him in a lot of it. Now his little 800 is just quick. The thing he had over us
he would finish.
He would finish. The CF Moto is wide, and the way the hood is angled on it, it was absolutely horrible to know where your front tires were.
Because we had taken the flares off because we figured if we didn't take the flares off, they were going to be removed for us in the woods. And you really could not tell where the front wheels were. It was a constant guessing game.
Sure.
And we kind of went the wrong way. We didn't really realize when we started racing how much other guys had narrowed theirs up, going with, offset wheels to suck them in and going with narrower tires. We actually went kind of wide tire. And
I did the same thing at first.
I think that thing was, 64 inches wide in the front?
It wasn't quite that. Well, to start off, I bought the machine as a total. I mean, a lot of people know that I have the body shop and everything else, or my dad has it, and I've worked in it for years and years. But I bought it as a total, and it was someone had jumped it or something and came back and landed square on the tail end and just bent the frame and everything else.
Wow.
I cut out section of the frame, rebuilt it out of new metal and strengthened it and everything else. And it blew 2 of the wheels out. I still actually have 1 of the wheels out. I still have 3 wheels sitting in my garage with my wheel hoarding thing that I got. So I had bought new wheels, and when I did, I went slightly more offset? Wide. Yeah, a little higher offset, because the CF Motos go in a weird offset and you can't really get the exact thing. So I just went something close, and I was like 61.5 or 62 inches wide, which is massive for an 800.
For an 800, yeah.
And MWXC tends to be a tighter track anyway.
Extremely tight most times.
So, and then the way the front nose is actually pinched the way it is, you can't see it. And we just had all kinds of things. Doug said many times that machine was trying to kill us.
Yeah, the infamous one race I ran. Now, he had put the steering quickener in there. And you had done some other things, and I had no seat time. I mean, my seat time was from 10 seconds to the first corner.
Oh, sure.
And it was like riding with a dead elephant on top of you. I mean, it was just constantly, it was hard to hold a straight line in. And I got into some slick stuff, and the back end just started to come around, and that was it. I got it back kind of straight, but I was on a beeline towards a tree pretty much, and I got it away. I thought far enough away. I just bumped that tree. The back end kicked around, and it caught the next tree down and just ripped the rear wheel off of it. And but I remember watching in front of me, there was a little Razor 800 trail, one of the 50-inch wide ones.
Ron Teague.
No, it wasn't Ron.
Oh, was it not?
This is the 800. This was, I'm blanking on his name now. It's the other guy.
Clint?
Yeah, Clint.
Yep.
And he was pulling away from me in a less powerful machine. And I'm like, well, I need to keep up with him at least through this section. And as soon as I gave it some more gas, it was decided off the track was where I was going.
Well, and to add to it, the tires we chose, they seemed like a good choice at the beginning of the season. I went with the ITP Baja Cross, which sound really good until you try and put them in the mud or anything else, because there's such a big tread block.
And that's a heavy tire, too.
Yeah.
It's physically a heavy tire.
Yeah, it's an 8-ply, and on an 800, that's a ton.
We were running like 8 PSI, and I could still jump up and down on top of them.
And they didn't flex much. I cut the biggest tread block and the second biggest tread block. I cut them in half and took an inch out of them, and then took a tire groover and cut more lines to try and get the tire to flex more. And while it helped, it just never was good in any kind of mud. And the 2017 season, we just had mountains of mud races, it seemed like, and only a couple dry ones.
It seems like what IXCR is getting this year was what MWXC seemed to have last year.
It was, and at that point, we were questioning our racing future, and we really weren't keen on dumping a bunch of money in at the end. Like, well, let's go out and spend another couple grand on wheels and tires and see if we can, fix the problem. And
Did you guys have any racing experience prior to? I
have done not much off-road racing. I I've run off-road my whole life. I got my first dirt bike when I was 5 years old, little PW50 Yamaha.
Everybody has one.
Yeah,
has had one of them.
everybody has had one. And,
The gateway drug.
Yeah, I stepped up to, bigger dirt bikes, and then it was quads and stuff like that. And
So you've rode your whole life. Yep.
And then I actually did some sanctioned drag racing at used to be IRP, now it's O'Reilly Raceway Park there in Indianapolis. They had Tuesday night open drags, and I dragged crotch rockets, street bikes.
Oh, wow.
So I did that for 3 or 4 years, something like that. And I started in the 600 class, and then I jumped up to the 1000 class.
What kind of bike?
I started off on it was a Yamaha R6, and then I ended up on a Ninja 1000.
Full drag bikes, lowered, stretched, or
They weren't full drag bikes. They were kind of street strip bikes.
Did you have the 4 mile long swing arm in the back?
I never did.
Oh, okay.
Because I was the type, I enjoy the corners more. Because I've been down to like Tail of the Dragon down there in North Carolina and Tennessee and all these. And I enjoy the corners more than I even enjoyed the drag racing. But around here, there's only a couple. You could go to like Putnamville, which is now 20, 30 miles from me, and there's a street course. And I could do some bike racing there. But it was like 2 races a year. And there wasn't a whole lot of point to me building a purpose-built bike for 2 races a year.
Exactly.
What about you, Doug? Did you have any experience before? I know you actually used to live up in northern Indiana, and you've since made the venture down south to south central Indiana, I guess we could call it.
Yeah, it kind of seems crazy when you put it that way, because honestly, I didn't really have a lot of racing experience of my own. I mean,
He was just dumb enough to climb in the buggy with me.
he said, let's go racing, and I was
I
like,
need a sucker to sit next to me.
what's the worst that could happen?
I think that's a common story. I think Devin Smith, that's kind of how he co-drove, and then he made the venture to just start driving on his own. So that's a pretty common thing that does happen, really.
I've always been interested in motorsport. Like Chad, I like to ride hard, but I'd never done anything, that was actual sanctioned racing or anything along those lines. It's always just been an interest in it. And so when he said he wanted to go racing, I was like, done, let's go.
That sweet 400DX, though.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, you'll be seeing some videos of me flipping that pretty soon, I'm sure.
Are you gonna race it this year? Are you gonna try?
I'm probably gonna get one race in now that the weather's cooling down, because I'm old and I'm slow, and I don't want to be hot, old, and slow. So we'll just.
Nice.
And you're just going to go in like trail rider class and just have fun with it, right? That's your plan.
Well, the plan's to have fun, but I know me. I'm going to see somebody go by me, and I'm like, I can catch them, surely.
Happens every
I did have
time.
a couple people that said, well, just ride up in C class with us. I'm like, are you kidding me? Come on. I'm not going to. I haven't ridden at a competitive
race pace.
I've ridden around a track, but I've never done it at a race pace. I was like, I'll wave when you go by. How about that? But
you actually made the move down here after you guys started doing the podcast, right?
Yeah, and so kind of back to your original question, why did we start the podcast? We kind of answered that in brief, but we really never had any intentions of this being like what it's become now, where people are actually looking to us and asking for information, and people are interested in what we're doing. It was really just more of a way to blow off steam about the races and just talk about our experience. And we figured if somebody got a laugh out of it, fine, and the 3 people out there might find it interesting. But
tens of people
now are interested, but it's morphed into something different. And I really don't know.
See
what the future is, because we originally kind of started, we were going to build parts, and we still have some plans to do a few things in that regard, but that's why I'd moved down here. It was, okay, we're going to take this thing and we're going to make parts, and we're going to do this, this, and this, and
we'll use the race team to kind of promote our parts and stuff like that.
And the whole thing has gone a completely different direction.
Not even that way.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Which we're not complaining about at all. It's just sometimes we're passionate about UTVs, and we're passionate about the sport, and so this is the form it's kind of taken.
There's not a lot out there. At least in like podcast, and I mean there's podcasts out there that talk about them, but you guys almost seem to kind of specialize in it, or funny trivia anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know about it's funny, but it's strange.
You learn something.
So where did the friendship come from? I think I've heard the backstory, but maybe others haven't. I mean, is this you guys have been friends for a while?
Yeah.
Well, really, when I was born in Michigan, and my parents moved down to northern Indiana when I was 4, and the very first kid I met was a boy named Kevin Stump.
Not me.
And Kevin and I,
bromance I got going on here.
And Kevin and I became, just really fast friends. It was one of those things growing up where like either he was at my house or I was at his house every weekend. Parents were just kind of interchangeable at that point. And we went to different schools. We lived in different districts, and Kevin went to school with Chad.
Yeah.
When Chad showed up, the 3 days a year, first day, last day, and
pudding day.
And so Chad and I knew about you. We'd met a couple times, but we didn't really run in the same circles per se.
Did you guys meet on the drag strip or something?
No, actually,
I had moved all the way back down here. So after high school, my parents and my whole family, we moved back. Well, not here. We're in Illinois now, but we moved back to central Indiana because that's where my parents had both grown up, and we had homestead land down there and everything else. And I used to go up and see Kevin all the time, and Doug would be around, and we'd hang out. And then Kevin got married to Doug's, is it your stepsister?
Half-sister.
Whatever.
That wouldn't be the wedding that you guys...
Yeah, that's the one I showed up
That's the one that he was missed because of the whole Michigan-Indiana time
I
thing.
had to put one and two together. I'm trying
right.
to think
That
back
is
to
the very
beginning
wedding.
podcast here. So
I started, like Kevin couldn't hang out anymore because he got married and his wife wouldn't let him come out and play. So I just went up to see Doug, and Doug would come down and hang out at my house, and we just, goofing around. So
yeah, we probably saw each other 6 times a year, like every other month, or one of us would go the direction, but we talk on the phone probably 2-3 times a week.
Yeah,
just call and shoot the bull for an hour.
I had a long drive to work a lot of the time, and just call. Hey, what are you doing?
So we've moved through all these hobbies together. I mean, we still both go shooting and are interested in shooting sports and stuff.
Yep.
But for a while, it was like that was the hobby.
Yeah.
And so we were doing a lot of stuff with that. And so we've moved through all these various hobbies together, and now we're here.
here we are.
50 episodes in.
50 episodes in, yeah.
With a lot more in the queue because there's
a lot happening.
We keep teasing it. 2019 is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So with that, is racing something you guys think will you ever have another buggy again? Or are you going to stay more on the
Trail side?
I would like to race again. I don't think my XP Turbo is the machine I would want to race.
You don't have a heart to break something you didn't buy already wrecked.
Yeah, it's tough. When it was already wrecked, that CF motor, I'm like, crash that thing into a tree. I don't care. I'll just weld it back together. I know all the parts.
The pink machine was salvaged when I got it. Yeah.
We actually told Mike Plank that. He made some comment about, you'll feel real bad when you wreck that pretty machine. And you're like, it's already been wrecked twice. I ain't afraid to do it again.
I'm not afraid to do it again. He's like, okay.
The pink machine was actually Sam Derrickson's.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. He totaled it out, and I ended up writing the insurance claim on it. So I watched it go through auction, and I knew the machine. We did all the service machine forever. So when it came up, I was on it. Like that is coming home with me.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you may need to get with Cody here. And
I might. I don't know if I want to do XC racing. I've been really looking at short course.
Yeah.
Man.
It caters more to your driving style.
It does.
By a long shot.
Cody and I have talked about it, and Doug's mentioned it before. I am a pretty aggressive driver when it comes to it. I will pitch it in a corner hard, and I'll steer through with throttle. I don't need that brake pedal. That's just a wasted piece of metal on there. Take it off, save the weight.
But in fact, some people have made comments that, Chad's afraid of the trees. He doesn't want to go XC racing. I'm like, the problem is he's not afraid of the trees at all. That's the issue.
And that's always why we had the problem. I'd hit it hard enough. It's not like, it kind of bent and we can limp it out. It's like, nope, there she sits until the skid steer comes.
And again, part of that was setup choices and tires and everything else. I mean, it wasn't, a couple of them were really kind of low speed, relatively speaking, the wrecks we had, but it just, you just wanted to run. You saw somebody in front of you. You wanted to make a pass, like an outside to inside pass, and you can't do that in the woods.
And that CF Moto, one of its glaring things was tie rods just bent so stinking easy. I mean, you bump something wrong and you'll fold a tie rod. So I put heavier tie rods in. Well, then I went through 3 steering racks. And I mean, I was just, and then I was like, okay,
moving the problem.
Heavier steering rack. And so I went with like a Super ATV, the one for Razor 800S. And I modified it. And I'm doing all this in between races. So I have no time to test.
Yeah.
It's like we've talked about my steering quickener. I put it on. It was not the right one. I overnighted another one, put it in, and my only drive time was putting it on the trailer out of my garage and driving it to the start line.
That was me going to Heartland a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and it's like I'm gonna run it. I mean, like Doug said, I'm just not scared to push it, and I'm not scared to drive something I don't know what it'll do. I'll figure it out. What's the difference at that point?
Cody's getting messages for parts. Right?
And honestly, I think if we had been in a different machine that suited your style better, we probably would have had better luck in XC racing, but it's the one you had, so you take it racing. I mean, my Plank did the same thing.
Yeah.
He had his Razor 800 that he used to haul wood around with.
I saw that picture the other day with I think he custom made a
wagon
cart for it.
Yeah.
He had like 2,700 miles on that thing when he decided to start taking it racing.
Yeah.
You know, but it's the machine he had. So
I guess the question that was asked is, will we ever go racing? I would sure like to. I don't think the machine I have is the machine I want to race. I look at short course races, and they're dominated by the YXZ and some X3s. They're kind of a mix. It depends on the course, I think.
I was getting ready to say you need a Yamaha.
Yeah.
yeah,
We need to find
I mean,
you
the
a crash.
X3 is not a bad machine out there either. You look at Kyle Chaney when he gets fresh air, like at the third annual ERX.
Yeah.
He
was checked out.
killed everybody.
He was gone.
Yeah, it was not even close.
Yeah. I would give up a crash Yamaha. You'd have a hard time getting a crash Polaris out from underneath me. So
Yeah.
The fortunate thing is most people have more machine than they have driving skill, and so there's lots of
We didn't say it. Steve raised his hand.
There's a
you're
lot of
not
wrecked
watching
machines out there. Like if you're looking for a wrecked one, they're not hard to come by.
Yeah.
And some of them really, the insurance companies don't seem to know what to do with them. So really wrecks that aren't that bad, they'll total them out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll let free of one of my trivia questions because we're not going to go with mine. So I get reports from sales reports. So there's sales reports in our district, which covers 5 states. 166,000 Polaris side-by-sides sold last year. The next closest one is, anyone want to guess?
I'm going to... Are we talking just side-by-sides?
Side-by-sides only. It's a side-by-side sold. Now, you got to remember,
model specific or
Nope,
or just brand?
Brand. And and utility falls in this category, and then this is what is putting the second place where it is.
I'm still going to probably...
Kubota.
Wrong.
Oh.
You got to guess?
So it's a brand name.
It's
John
a brand.
Okay.
I want to say
Nailed
Yamaha
it.
still.
Nailed
John
it.
Deere.
John Deere. Yep. John
I
Deere.
can definitely see that around here.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
Gator. Yeah.
166,000 Polarises in the last year in 5 states. John Deere's the next closest one with like 34,000.
Yeah. Oh, Polaris is massive in
36,000.
comparison.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Over 100,000 more machines sold.
And it's like
I'm curious, did you have numbers on Can-Ams?
Yeah, it's like right there. It's like 3rd or 4th. I don't think it's even 3rd. I think it's actually 4th.
Yeah.
I really think the utility side is where a lot of those numbers are coming from, you know?
Sure.
Honda is actually what I thought would be really good. They were way down. They're like 10th.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
they're
it's because they haven't really
expensive.
brought any new offerings, and they don't have anything in the sport pretty much at all,
Well, and the Pioneers are expensive. They're nice, but they're expensive.
and they're down on horsepower. That's Honda's stick
have you
on
ever
it.
rode one in the Pioneer?
Not the new ones, no.
Oh.
Not good?
They shift awful. Honda's thing
do.
is they're trying to stay away from the CVT stock clutch, and you know what? They need to get over it. It has been here for 15 years. It is, to
It
me,
works.
It's perfected. I mean, I know it isn't perfect, but it is as good as it's going to get for it. That's the only way to build power and make it work smoothly. You know,
Yeah.
there's so many guys
And
doing
make it
now.
universal.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many guys doing it now. I mean, Honda has engines out of a lot of different stuff they could utilize if they would just put that transmission behind it. You know.
Yeah.
Well, and Honda's missing out on belt sales. I mean, come on. People would gladly pay $250 for a Honda branded belt all day long.
Honda is selling double the amount of oil. Those things take 8 quarts of oil. Woo! Those Pioneers do
8 quarts?
with 3 oil filters.
3 oil
Oh wow, I didn't know
filters.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
One
one of
a
them,
lifetime, like you only change it once?
you
in
don't.
this entire
You
life,
change
or-
2 of them. You're supposed to change 2 of them every time, and then there's one that has a service interval, and I think it's like every 3rd oil change you replace it. Yeah,
That's a setup.
That's
of
something.
Some sort. I had no idea. That's crazy. But
So now that we've-
166,000.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That is amazing to me.
Polarises, yeah, so that's why whenever you see the fires and you see this breaks and that breaks, it's a law of large numbers. Polaris is flat out outselling these guys. I mean, not even anything close. I mean, it's 100,000 more machines in a year.
Well, and I've made that
and-
statement before. We tease about the fires of Polaris and everything else. But it's because they're selling that many more that there's that many fires. If you looked at percentages of each brand versus the fires, I bet they're all right at the same.
I would say you're probably right. You just hear and see about them so much more because there's that many more machines out there.
Well, and you get people that blatantly disregard, do not carry gasoline in the bed.
Yeah. Or look at this brand new Turbo S that just came out. I mean, that happens too. I mean, people will intentionally do it.
Yeah.
Well, have you seen people's wiring before?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a whole other.
Trust me, I've seen that stuff. Yeah.
I have an 18-gauge wire. Surely I can run 6 light bars and a stereo off of this.
Yeah.
That was the
10-cent toggle switch will be my main electrical disconnect.
Yeah. No relay, just running through that.
And that was the 5 states around us. I'm sure when you get out west, the numbers are a little bit different out there,
but they're not that much different.
I would have to agree with that also. But it's just crazy to me, to see that. I'm actually really excited to get this year's back because I would like to see, if it's how much, has Can-Am moved up a bunch, because the X3 is obviously a machine to reckon with in the woods. I mean, it is hands down.
Doug and I were talking about this on the way over, though. The X3 for a comparable horsepower machine, you're looking at basically $10,000 more to go up from 168 to 172 horsepower.
I agree with that, and one of the things that I would say too is it's kind of like the bandwagon thing. I think someone started winning on an X3 early in, and everyone kind of went that way. I don't think that the Turbo Polaris is much of a less machine at all. I think you got the local guys winning on it, and that's what the guys want. One person I like to talk about here is Cam Mapes, and I know Brad Mapes, his dad's had multiple conversations with me before. Is a Can-Am the way to go? My answer is I can't say that for sure because I've not had both, but I think you're just seeing the people winning on Can-Ams, and that's what you're going with because that's what the machines that they have.
No, they are great machines, and we don't want to take away from them, but yeah, you look at the price differential and what you're getting for that, and I'm not trying to be mean to any of our faithful viewers out there. Most of you are not good enough to take advantage of, if let's say there's a 5%, the Can-Am has the edge, you got to drive it to get that edge. And most people out there, ourselves included, we're just not that good.
Yeah, to get to that last 5% of usable power.
Yeah.
I mean, that is like the top 0.1% of drivers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kyle Chaney notices the difference. The 4 people sitting here, we're just not, for the money, I don't see the difference. And I think it is kind of that bandwagon effect. They are very nice machines, but you look at Crazy Man's Hideout.
Yeah.
That was round 7, and that was the most wide open track that MWXC has ever had. There's a lot of room to just run. So if you're in a fast machine, you should have been way out in front. John Barnes came out in a Razor 1000, not a turbo, just a 1000, and ran second place and gave everybody fits.
To be fair, I think that motor's built. I don't know to what distance, but
it is a built motor, but he's not even pushing the horsepower of a stock 1000 XP turbo.
Yeah.
True.
He might be up in the mid 130s or
maybe
something.
Even if he's touching 150. He's giving up. I would say like Devin and guys like that are running a tuned X3, they're touching 200 pretty easy.
Oh, yeah.
Or close to it, yeah.
Absolutely.
The 1000 XP, you can build some good power to them, and it's very usable. That is one thing that I really like about our machine. It's got some engine work done to it and stuff.
That torque comes on like right now.
Very, very usable power, and that's great. We at the Heartland Challenge, we chased the guy that got second place. We played cat and mouse through the woods with him for a couple laps, and we were right there to the point he actually pulled over and let us around him. I'm like, well, this isn't no fun. I wasn't going to pass you or force you into a mistake. I was just driving with you.
I wanted to play.
Yeah. But we were hanging. I mean, we were out of every corner. He really wasn't ever getting a gap on us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, we're not to disparage any machine that's out there. They all have a different feel, and you got to buy the one you like. But it is kind of hard to swallow the price difference gap. Plus, just the amount of parts that are available.
For the razors.
Yeah. I mean, even just you may find somebody who specializes in Can-Am parts like you do and Razor parts. They're not going to have a warehouse like you do because there just aren't that many of them out there.
Yeah, there's just few. There's less crash ones and things like that to get your hands on.
Yeah,
and that's one of the biggest things too. Is like you said, finding the machine that suits you and that's comfortable to you, and the way you can set the suspension up for you, and the seating and driving everything up for you. I think honestly, you put a guy like Kyle Chaney or Devin Smith or even Steve in any of the machines and watch the lap times. Obviously, they're going to be a little more comfortable with their machine, but if you're a good driver, you're going to drive any brand there is up front.
Yeah.
I do have the only thing that I have noticed between the two of them, and I kind of knew it going into it, but I didn't know that it could be seen. Obviously, I had Jason Dehart at the last MWXC race. He was there at the Ghost Town. Sorry,
Ghost Town. I was like,
Jason
Dehart. No, we didn't race
there.
there.
Matt Hecker was pretty much chasing me, and then Dehart was behind and got around us at some point. And after the race, he comes up and he's like, "Is your thing as tippy as it looks from behind?" And I was like,
Yes.
"Yeah, it is."
Well, and that's the thing. But see, that's kind of why I chose my Razor over the X3, because Ask Doug, I sat in them.
Yeah.
I use my Razor for more than just racing.
Yeah.
I get in and out of it. I can get in and out of mine 1,000 times easier than in and out of that X3.
Yeah.
Maybe next year we can run a general.
Run it where? Snowplow
Run
on the
it
front,
into,
right
or-
into Jason
Sorry,
Bannon.
Jason, I had to, buddy.
While we're talking about drivers here, there's a driver that was briefly mentioned, and I think a blog you wrote, but Cam Mapes. Kid is 13, I think. Maybe he's 14 years old.
Yeah.
And holy cow, the dude can drive.
He can. It's going to take some development time of his. I mean, I'm not saying he's bad, so no one take it that way. But it does take time to get used to it. And as he steps up to the bigger machines, that's where the learning curve gets steeper.
You're exactly right. One of the things that Cam's going to have to really work on is he's going to work on patience. He has to know that he's a very good driver, and if you got a slower driver in front of you, that he needs to back it down a notch and just be patient and wait for the opportunity to come. I think a lot of your veteran drivers, that's why they do so well. You know, I know for myself, if I know I'm faster than somebody and say I'm in second, he's in first, I'll follow him for quite some time until I know it is a good opportunity that I can make a good, safe, clean pass here and get around him.
And sometimes, too, you do have the opportunity to, that you're faster, so you can hang right on their back door. Sometimes you can push them into making that mistake where they blow a corner because they're pushing too hard, or they miss a turn because they're pushing too hard, and then you just got a free pass out of the deal.
But that style of driving is a whole nother style, because then at that point, like we talked about when we did the podcast with you, the last one, Cody, that I'm watching how the guy in front of me, how his suspension reacts to everything, how his machine is reacting to it, and I can play off of that and actually drive slightly faster and make him feel the pressure. But if I drive as fast as I possibly can and I'm right up on him, I can't see how his machine reacts, and I can't do that. Yep. So you have to know there's a different style of driving when you're driving to push someone to make a mistake versus trying to drive as fast as you can.
You're exactly right. And Cam is naturally talented. I think he's a great driver. I've watched him through the woods, and he zips right along, especially if he's by himself out there. He really can put some time down. And I think as he matures with racing, and as long as he sticks with it, he's going to be a force to reckon with in the future.
Absolutely.
I actually made that very mistake at Ghost Town. Like I said, Matt was chasing me for several laps there at Ghost Town, and we went through scoring, and there was a pretty hard turn, like left and then back right, and I put it on two wheels, almost dumped it, whipped the wheel back right, and in that little time that it took me to get that back down, I almost went through somebody's camper in that same time frame. But in that time it took me to get it back down, Matt was gone. He right around me. So
and
just
Matt's good at pushing. He's good at staying on someone and applying pressure and letting them make the mistake.
Yeah, well, I did it.
Yeah.
And almost went through a camper in the process.
Kids, take notes. It does work.
It does.
Yes, and that's something that I think, that's the things that Cam will learn as he gets going. And Michael Plank was one of the first guys that said, "Who is this kid? Where did he come from?"
Yeah.
I don't ever have someone that can drive up on my bumper like this. Who is this guy? And
I see Mike talking to him and hanging out with him a lot at the races. I think he's kind of trying to take him under his wing.
And that's great. That's what that's what Cam needs. And they both race Razor 800Ss, so they can really help each other out with suspension. And Mike knows so much about them that allows Cam to kind of feed in and learn off of.
Yeah, and I think people have a misconception when you guys said that, they're talking to each other and kind of taking him under his wing. People imagine racing, the people that aren't involved in it, imagine racing as, I'm racing against all you guys, I hate every one of you, and I'm not talking to you. And that is completely the opposite of how it is.
Yeah. It's the best family you'll ever find.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's the people you're hanging out with before and after the race, and you're messaging and texting in between race days and everything else. Just, hey, did you get your machine fixed? Yeah. Did you get this figured out?
It's actually kind of funny that you mentioned that. I bought Devin Smith a shirt the other day for the awards banquet for MW side by side. So
Does it say Mueller Racing on it?
I'm not gonna reveal what it says, but I was talking to him this morning about how the race went yesterday, and I said I got a little gift for you at that awards banquet. So we'll just wait and see how it goes. It'll be pretty fun.
You know, that's exactly right. That's funny. Mike Plank actually just texted me earlier, and, I was been talking to Kevin Spangler, and, me and Brad Mace and Cam Mace all kind of stay, they're up in Iowa, so it's a little bit different. But, we do, everybody stays in contact. Everybody's, I don't know of anyone at a really a local race that we race at regularly that really wouldn't literally take the wheel off their machine and give it to the next guy if
he needed it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
We kind of talked about doing that at Heartland too. I mean, the K&M guys wouldn't want my stuff, but
Yeah.
but I mean, it really is. It is a family.
Last year at Heartland, I broke first lap in, and my machine broke in front of a guy's trailer, and the guy they pitted and they needed a hub. We literally took the hub off my machine, put it on his machine so he could finish the race, and then we had to take his machine back, get his machine on the trailer, take it back apart, put it on my machine, so I could load it on the trailer too. But yeah.
Well, Jason Hatcher at this year's Heartland, I mean, some guy he didn't even know was like, you know what? I'm not running. You need a clutch.
Take it.
Pull mine. You can run it, and then just give it back to me when you're done. After 4 hours of abuse in a endurance race.
Yeah.
And this guy didn't know us from anybody. I mean, he didn't know Jason at all. He just, I want you to race. I don't know who you are, but I want you to race. And I think that's part of what this has started to evolve into here with everything Eminent Performance is doing is we just want to draw attention to the sport, and we want to draw attention to what an awesome sport it is and how many just kind of unsung weekend heroes they are. There's a lot of people that know the bigger names in the sport that casually follow it, and there's so many just really good down-to-earth people that are outstanding drivers. We just want to give them their chance, their spotlight, and that's kind of what this has started to evolve into one way or another.
What I know you guys got a lot of things coming up down the road that you can't necessarily reveal, but what's the future of Eminent Performance and Eminent Waste of Time, the podcast? Kind of what looking forward, what can you give us anything out of what you guys are planning on doing without giving away too much?
Well, there's some talk all of a sudden with GNCC folding up the tent.
That officially came out this week.
And I would like to point out that this is one of the first demonstrable times that we can actually prove we
right.
know what we're talking about. That
Steve even messaged me. He's like, it's not ever going to happen. I was like, we'll see. That's all I could tell you.
See, and I had heard a lot of rumors on the side, or this manufacturer was doing this and this and that, and so it's kind of hard,
Oh, I get it. And the rumor's been going around for a while.
Oh yeah.
But so many times you can't prove when you're right. It just kind of flushes out or not. But this was one time we can actually point to. But with them deciding that they are not going to run next year, and really what it came down to was insurance. They could not insure the events.
Well, the insurance wanted them to put a fence around the entire racetrack. That was their requirement.
Here, fence in this 10 square mile area or whatever,
Sure. You can't do it.
You can't do that. No.
So that drove it out of it.
And so there are a lot of things brewing in the UTV race world right now. One thing that has not come out, I'm not going to mention series names or anything else, but there is a very real possibility that next year there will be a co-sanctioned event with 3 different series. So each series would host, say, 3 races at each different series, co-sanctioned. And then at the end of the year, there'd just be one big massive shootout. Who's actually the best?
Kind of like the Iron Man comparatively to GNCC, really.
Yeah. So that there's a very real possibility that could be happening, and that Eminent Performance may be in the mix there in terms of kind of making that event happen, because the series owners, they're busy managing their series. Now they've got this other thing they have to do. So we may be very instrumental in trying to get that to actually happen and arrange that. So that's one thing that's on the table.
What you guys should do? You guys should go to GNCC for the Ironman and try to get all of us local racers to be allowed to race that, even with turbos.
I don't think they'll do it.
I'm just throwing it out there.
So one of the other things we had just recently pop up, and I won't give any names, is we started having some racers contact us and ask about helping.
What in the world do you guys actually do?
Yeah, well, that was his first question. Can you tell me what you actually do here?
That's a loaded question.
He asked if we could help promote and come up with basically a plan to help him promote himself.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he point blank asked us, he goes, so are you just interested in the sport, or do you actually promote drivers or dealerships? And I said, no, we're definitely into, promoting. We want to know who we're standing behind before we throw our name behind it. I was going to say weight, but we don't really have any.
Nah.
But there goes that opportunity. Sorry,
Doug just
torpedoed it.
Thank you, Doug.
But once we're comfortable with the situation and who we're working with, we want to bring people to the forefront that are good, solid people and that are interested in the sport like we are. So one of the things we're looking at is pushing that even harder, where, okay, let's partner up with some people and be their mouthpiece and figure out the media portion of it.
Yeah. And we've talked about it before. There's good drivers out there who don't have the financial backing to show that they're a good driver.
You're exactly right. And I said that a long time. There's, with any sport, and when it comes to motorsports especially, there is very, very talented drivers out there, but it takes money to get there. And I'm talking, it takes a lot. I mean, you got to have a lot of disposable income to be able to go forward. I mean, and if you're not willing to just literally throw a few $1,000s out the window to go racing, I'm sorry, guys. Maybe
it's
this
not
isn't
the
your
sport
sport for you.
Yeah.
You can have a race weekend where you drive around the trailer and you go home and pressure wash it and do fluids and be done. And then there's the next weekend where you're in a situation where Jason Hatcher's in, where he's got his whole frame ripped out of the front of his machine. Realistically, if it was mine, I'd put a front frame half on it. I don't know what his plan is to fix it, but it's not cheap at all to repair.
No.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, other things we have going on as far as the podcast with Eminent Waste of Time, we're in the process of putting a studio in right now.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They did get a new camera.
Oh yeah,
I was going to touch on that in a second.
I keep looking. I'm not sure.
We're recording this on 2 cameras because we've had some spotty luck. See episode 48 very recently, where cameras don't record.
The old one held together with tape.
The
new one is all.
I think.
We should say.
I thought he had the lens.
I'll insert something right here, kind of the old versus the new, and just how far we've come. But we're building a studio in the pole barn.
So you guys haven't done a podcast out of the pole barn in a very long time.
No, because it's hot or cold in there. There's no good time to do it. This will be a temperature-controlled environment.
To get cool now.
Yeah, but
that's why
we're actually going to have
a
real studio with a real backdrop, and we're going to have space in there for multiple people to come in. And the thought was, most of these guys are comfortable in the shop, so they're going to come into the pole barn. That's our shop, and then we'll have a studio in there where, hey, come on in. We can give them a tour of the shop, and then we can sit down and just shoot the bull about UTVs in a comfortable environment
and record it
and where we have some control over it. But we also want to be able to get multiple people like this, where it's a little less of we're just sitting across the table format.
Yeah. Most drivers, and you guys have all seen the podcast, or at least the majority of the last ones. I'm recording them out of my home office that I have, and you can see my kitchen through there, and everybody thinks I record it in my kitchen.
I always love that.
It's what works for us right now, because, like Doug said, it's ridiculously hot or it's ridiculously cold or whatever until we get the studio done.
And up until the past couple months, honestly, we didn't think this was. I don't want to disparage ourselves. We didn't really think this was going anywhere, and all of a sudden, it's going places.
And you guys are doing this out of your own pockets at this time.
This is all out of thank you, wife, for tolerating my stupidity.
You guys have some people stepping up and donating things and doing some different stuff, but at the end of the day, you just drove an hour or some down here out of your own pocket to do this for everybody else.
And we want to keep improving the product. I mean, we did that Heartland Challenge video.
That was awesome,
and it came out really well, I thought, given we shot it all with cell phones and it was nighttime, and cell phones don't do video well at night. And
that's what a lot of people don't get. They think there's this massive budget of, a lot of this has been done with cell phones and
whatever we could scrape together.
Whatever we can scrape together. I mean, we both make okay money. I mean, I'm not feeding my kids because of this, but
obviously not Brennan. Good grief.
6'5". Anyway, but it's just, I mean, imagine if you guys that are listening, if you had to say, okay, we're going to race, and on top of that, we're going to buy video equipment and audio equipment that you guys can see here and everything else, and we're funding all of this out of pocket. It gets to be a real expense.
And traveling.
And traveling
to the races. I think you're coming next weekend to the
we'll be here.
To the Midwest. Yep.
But we want to give you guys the best possible product we can. So, we were talking about the new camera. I bought that because I want to be able to shoot in 4K. I want to be able to do slow motion. So, I went out and bought it. It was a tear-jerking amount of money that I just spent on this thing. But I know down the road it's going to pay dividends, because we're at a point now where if we're going to keep improving, that's the stuff. It's the detail. It's the finesse. It's the little things that set you apart from, the guys just using webcams with lenses taped to the front of them, like some people would do. But we love it. I mean, and I made a blog post along these lines, and I meant every word of it. I was really it really just brought it all. I don't want to say emotionally because I wasn't like teary-eyed or anything, but it brought up some emotion for me when Joey D stepped away from UTV Underground because he built that thing.
The same way we started.
He didn't know where it was going either. He just loved what he was doing. And when you pour something, into something because you love what it is, not because you think, oh, there's this huge payout, really neat things happen. And that's what we're starting to see is we've been pouring in. We're going to continue to pour in. And if all we ever get paid back in is experiences and friendships like you guys, that's more than enough
for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's good.
So let's see. Anything else that we can... We're kind of going to, on the podcast side of it, we're going to start doing normal bits where we have drivers on and they'll get to participate in activities, we'll say.
Oh, speaking of that, we almost had a special guest today. Barry Miller, I talked to him. He was going to make the drive for this. And then
he realized what he was getting into and decided, no, that's
completely not worth it.
That's not happening.
Barry wanted me to definitely congratulate you guys on 50 and give you guys a hard time. And I think we've done that quite well.
Yeah.
You guys took your alien.
The balloons and the antennas.
Yeah.
So, thanks, Barry. I wish you could have made it. But
either people like us or we're too dumb to stop, and I'm inclined to think the second.
Yeah.
maybe Barry could be the first one over in the new studio.
Yeah.
Matt Rowell is going to... There might be a fist fight for that because Matt's pretty keen on being the first one in there. So
yeah.
We're going to have a big end of the season hullabaloo out there, though. I don't want to say like hullabaloo is probably the best word for it. Activities. And
Me and Steve will continue our tie of being on.
Yeah, because
podcast.
no one's up right now. It's 2 and 2, and you're both on now, so it's 3 and 3.
I was going to drive over there Wednesday. Cody didn't know this. I was going to drive over there Wednesday if you guys were recording, but then I guess you had a voice issue from the race. So
this is almost the first time since last weekend that I actually can talk.
Yeah.
Like as of Thursday,
it was
Friday.
It wasn't just 2 days of racing. It was 3 days of racing and announcing.
I'm blessed with genetics such that whenever I get a cold, it's like, well, sinus infection, instant. Like just every single time I can pretty much ride home on that. So I had a very minor cold. It was no big deal. I go out to the races. It's hot. I'm sucking dust, instant sinus infection. So that's draining down my throat, and I've got to talk for 3 straight days. And by Monday, I literally had nothing. I mean, I was whispering, just air was all I could get out.
Yeah. I was going to straight make that drive over there to get some points up on
get the extra, get one up on him.
But see, if we keep drawing this out where you guys are even, then we can keep having you back. So it's kind of part of our master plan.
Don't worry, I'm getting ready to go into my winter hibernation for the winter. So
is that when you like?
We'll draw you out.
Is that whenever you like hide out in your garage and take your razor all the way down to the bare frame? And
no, that will not be occurring.
So
I'll bet you if we offer to have you in the new studio and Chad makes banana bread, you'll come.
I'll come for sure. Maybe we'll ride together. So speaking of next weekend, Midwest Side by Side Series race.
I'm excited.
At Casey, I talked to Tim, the track owner. He has built a new track, motocross style that's even wider yet. I've not seen it. So pretty excited about that. We're not going to go on the track we did last time.
Okay.
He has a race there the very next weekend. He's put a whole bunch of sand and sawdust and stuff on it, trying to keep it good for the motorcycle guys, which I understand.
Yeah.
So I talked to Nathan Wolf. He wants a few things added, and Nate, I'm going to give you everything I possibly can give you on this one. You want it longer?
Can you take out the water on this one?
I don't know. It has rained for like...
I was curious
going to say, especially after this weekend.
I haven't been in Illinois during all this rain, but I was curious how the track looked.
I don't know. I hope it's not like it was last time, or like the...
Well, the forecast, at least over in Indiana, which I'm guessing you'll share over here for the next several days, like it starts to clear up tomorrow, and then it's like 80 degrees and sunny for the next week.
It was actually sunny when I left home, and I literally got outside Effingham, and that's when we got the crazy overcast and rain. Yeah. So it's almost here. It's almost
honestly, if anything, it might be a little dusty, but with a steady soak like this, you're gonna have a good base. It should be pretty good.
Yeah.
And if we can keep the 1,000 together in the 1,000 class, I do believe that Chad is going to drive it in the turbo class or the open class.
Yep,
Are you riding passenger?
I am not, because Matt Rowell
is he?
offered me a seat, so I'm gonna be riding with him.
So you got to scrounge up a passenger then, huh?
Do I have to?
No, you don't have to. No.
I'll run by myself.
And
or you can ride with me, or I don't care.
So when
I
he
think I'm
rips
also
a
gonna
wheel off in the woods, you can be walking. He'll be doing the walk of shame by himself instead of with somebody else.
Well, I'll be nice. I'll wave like I always do when we go by.
Doug's always been really nice and waves at me.
And I'm also going to be riding with Cam.
Yeah.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Well, I got a message. I think it was from Cam. It was on Instagram, so I'm not 100% sure exactly who it was, but it came from a Mapes name. I'm pretty sure it was Cam. He asked if he could ride with me, so I was like, oh, I don't have a problem with that.
He does Instagram. I'm not really an Instagram guy, and he's messaged me a few
I'm
times
brand
on
new
there.
to it.
But
It's what all the kids are into.
Cam needs that. Cam needs,
But is Steve the right guy for that?
Steve is, because whoa, slow down there, son.
down.
You don't need to go that fast into that corner.
Ask Steve every time I ride with him. I think my famous statement is brake later, stay on the gas longer.
So, and that I think that'll do Cam great. And the more Cam can get in the passenger seat with somebody, the better. I know they're from Iowa, and I know they always try to kind of skedat back as fast as they can because literally every race they're coming to with us, it's a 6-hour drive for
I had
them.
no idea they were from Iowa. I thought they were from down here.
No, they're from Iowa. So it's, they've got to drive every
Yeah, when they showed up
time.
at that IXCR race a few rounds back, that was a haul.
Yeah.
Yeah, that adds basically 2 hours to it.
It does.
Or a little more for that one.
And it's unfortunate. I don't know. I believe these things are fairly safe. I think that's why tech and stuff is there. And I think one of the problems they're running into is he's 13. No one's letting him race.
Liability.
He's 13 years old and no one is letting him in. And, we do. And I think Mike Plank actually got him to be able to race that IXCR.
I think he did.
Yeah, I basically had to vouch for him to make that happen. But yeah, he's an exciting young racer. And I think you're right. Being in a passenger seat is going to be really good for him. You start to realize as a young racer, fast and frenetic seem to go like hand in hand in your mind, at least. The crazy pace and you're on the edge of traction the whole time and, you're fishtailing and that's fast. And you start to realize what fast really is when you're with a driver who knows when to push, knows when to lay up, understands those things. And that makes you a better driver.
You're exactly right. One of the things came, he's a young kid, so he's not having to replace the parts when things go bad just yet. I think Brad may he may tighten that up in the near future if we can't calm him down a little bit. But Cam is a phenomenal driver, and I think he,
maybe go halvesies on the parts.
Yeah,
and he'll start to understand.
There you go. Don't break this thing, boy.
Yeah, I'll share, Cam, this one's pointed at you because when I was, this has been, how old am I now? Gosh, nearly 20 years ago when I was doing some racing. A racer who was probably my age now or older, he gave me good advice. And at the time, I didn't really heed it. But as I've gotten older, it's more right than I ever would have imagined. Go fast in the fast parts and go slow in the slow parts.
Absolutely.
Know when to push, know when to go slow, and bide your time.
You're exactly right. The Mace family is a great family. They travel in packs. They always have a group of people with them, and he's got guys behind him that's, his so-on-so mechanic is a John Deere engineer, and the things he comes up with and he 3D printed a GoPro tear-off system for their GoPro,
I've
which
seen
is
that.
absolutely
super
phenomenal.
cool. Yeah.
Like,
I need to check with him on that.
I almost
now
asked
that
for the
Chad's
S-
not been with me, I'm having a hard time keeping that bad boy
I need to
clean.
ask for the STL files because I have a 3D printer.
Oh, that's awesome.
See, now mentally, I'm just picturing packs of wild mapes, and you don't want to mess with a pack of mapes. Don't want to get in the middle of that.
Well, I hate to cut it kind of short. We've been going for quite a while here, and I think it's about time to.
I don't know where we are in time.
Well, we are at
50-something minutes.
50
I usually keep track of that today. I'm like,
you got to go on your
when the
phone
camera
over there?
batteries die, then we'll know.
So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take the trivia on this episode here. So
I've got one more thing before you do that.
sure,
real quick.
absolutely.
So a lot of you guys have been following the information about Lauren Schaff, who was injured in round 6.
Parker's Paradise.
She is actually back home now, and she is on her way to a full recovery. The doctors at this point, with the progress she's made, are thinking there's no reason she won't make a complete full recovery. She's home.
Still a hard road.
There's
but
still a lot of physical therapy ahead of her and stuff like that, but she's home. She's out of the hospital, and they fully expect her, like I said, to make a full recovery. So that's just prayers answered, and I know a lot of you out there were interested in that, so I just want to pass that along. It was on my notes to talk about today, and okay, that's it.
That's
But
great.
Lauren, we were all pulling for you, and we're super proud of how you bounced back from that, and I know as terrifying as it may seem to your parents, I'm sure you still want to race at some point. So we'll be back. Whatever that first race is, we will be there.
Awesome. So on the trivia, I kind of try to get some related material to other trivia or other material from the podcast, previous episodes.
Your search history is now in possession by the FBI, I'm sure, because I'm sure mine is.
I thought you were going to say related to what we normally do. So I'm like, oh, it's about cow farts and, pig intestines.
What's the longest poop ever?
Well, I think you guys are going to do quite well. I at least I hope. Cody and I kind of geared together. He knows what I've got coming. So I'm not going to ask Cody the questions because he knows the answers.
Okay.
But he definitely had a part of it. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get moving here. So on question 1, on the Polaris Razor 900 XP, and I don't know specifically if it's because we know Polaris changed things a lot. I know for sure on 2011 and 2012 900 Razor XPs, there's a tray that is located above the top of the engine, underneath the removable cover that you remove to get to the engine.
It's part of the bed.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically molded in the bed. And with that, I'll actually let you guys see a picture of it, and I'll send this to you so you guys can post it in for the people at home to see.
Slide it in the video right here. Okay.
So what do you guys...
Just creating editing I have to do tonight. Thank you.
What do you guys think that tray is actually intended for?
Douglas, you got something?
I believe it's for a toolkit, isn't it?
Chad?
I'm going to give an answer.
Did you hear that little squeak there? The voice isn't quite back.
Yeah. I'm going to go for something I know is completely not right. That's your reservoir of fire retardant fluids.
Come on, man. We were just being so nice to Polaris earlier.
That was before they were catching on fire.
Doug actually gets a full internet point. That is
boom.
I thought there was
factory
no way
toolkit.
that's where it would go.
And believe it or not, there is no reference that I can find for it. I just know for sure because when I bought my brand new 2012 Razor 800 or 900, it was in there.
And it's
now they just cram them in the glove box.
It is only on 11 and 12.
I see. I think 13 and 14.
Yep, it is only on
That's
11
why
and 12.
I had to say that.
I was going to guess that, but I was like, there's no way. You wouldn't put tools back there. They'd all burn.
All right. So we got 1-0 here. So number 2, the tire pattern on motocross bikes is affectionately known as what? Chad?
We always just called them knobbies.
Doug?
Down to the ground.
You are correct, Chad.
tie.
We are 1-1. It
Are
is
you serious?
knobbies.
Yeah,
It is
I thought
just
that-
known
knobbies.
as knobbies.
Well, that's almost a trick question because I was like, well, they're just knobbies. I didn't realize there's a special name for them.
Almost a trick question, like the Fruit Loops. Yeah, that's a trick question too.
I see how this is going to be now. Okay, just go with the
Reference podcast 49.
Okay. I did get tricked on that one.
All right. Question number 3. I'm going to pick on you, Chad.
That's fine.
How many years early did Travis Pastrana finish high school?
How many? Are you talking about his age or how many?
Just how many years early?
I think it was. I'm wanting to say it was 2, but I'm thinking it 3. I'm going to go with 2. I'll just go with 2.
Doug?
I'll go 3 because you went 2.
Okay.
Correct answer. He finished high school 2 years early with a 3.9 GPA.
Okay. Yep.
See, I tried
thought
to
it
go
was
back
2.
to previous kind of podcast material.
I couldn't remember. I don't know where I was getting the 3. I think it was because of his age. I was doing the math backwards.
I see.
But I can't remember. That's why I was asking his age or number of years.
Chad's GPA made an impressive batting average.
Yes.
when I came across that, I was like, oh, it's definitely going in for Chad.
School and I didn't get along. Let's just leave it there.
We just would leave and go fishing for the day. That's just how our school rolled.
I may or may not have set the school's carpet on fire.
I'm going to say Travis was probably homeschooled most of his teenage life.
That's a good question. Maybe if we catch him again, we'll have to ask.
I think he went to a high school.
Did he?
But I
I'd have to
remember,
look.
I think he did. I'm pretty sure he did.
All right, moving on. Number 4. Hopefully you guys can get this one. Doug, maybe you especially. In what year was the Honda 400EX released? Going back to the sound bit one.
Yes.
Let's let Doug go first.
Yeah,
on
Doug
this
go
one.
first.
He has
He's
one
got one.
right now.
I believe it was 1999, not 18.
I think it was 98.
So either one of you could actually be correct, but the article that I found said it was released fall of 1998.
They're not. The VIN numbers are stamped all 99.
99.
But I was going to say, but it was for because the model year runs from 99 to 04 and then 2005 up.
But I was thinking, because I was doing it from memory when I first saw them come out, it was 98.
Yep.
And I couldn't remember if it was, I saw them like early 98 and they were 98 models, or if it was late 98 and they were 99 models.
Yeah, I was going model year, not physical year.
I couldn't
We got
have
to go to
told
the
you.
judge for that one.
Yeah.
What are we going to do for points for that one?
I think he gets a full and he gets a half internet point.
That's fine. I don't know how many
Honda
internet
used to
points
always
I have.
do a
I've not paid attention.
Honda used to always do a release in late October.
Yeah, they're always a late releaser, where a lot of them are early releaser in the years. Yeah.
Supposedly the Honda Talon is coming.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I keep hearing.
I've talked to a Honda rep on that, and that's not all 100% true.
If it's anything like Polaris, they have no idea.
Now remember our track record so far. We're batting 1,000 on the GNCC thing. We're not convinced about the Talon.
I'm not convinced yet.
The Honda Talon.
I would.
We'll talk about that after.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either. So,
all right, moving on. Number 5. What XC racer at the age of 15 stepped up to A-class bikes but was fighting bad knees? 5 knee surgeries later, he moved to side-by-sides. Name this driver. I'm looking at you first, Doug.
I can't even fathom a guess on that one.
I'm just gonna guess Cheney, although I don't think it's right at all. But
I mean, I could
Throw a
see
guess.
that. My first thought was Cheney, but I don't know.
Phone a friend.
I'm here.
his
You
one and
cannot
only
phone
friend.
Chad.
I'd have to call Sam. That's
I'm
fine.
gonna go Steve Mueller.
That would be incorrect. Chad gets it. It is Kyle Cheney.
Yeah.
I was thinking it, like my mind was saying it's more than likely him, but I wanted to do something
Until
different,
you
so.
said side by side, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, okay,
Who didn't run bikes?
well, no, I mean, who ran them and had fits? And it's like, okay, well, Pastrana used to run bikes and he just destroyed himself. And I was trying to think of when he got out of it, but he was older than that when he got out of it.
I took a couple key words out of there. At first I had well known in there, and I figured, I was like, oh, they're gonna get that too easy. So I had to kind of move those words out to make it a little bit more interesting. But yeah, it was Kyle Cheney.
There we go.
Number 6. At the height of the snowmobile craze in the 1960s, what diversified this is in your guys' era, right?
Yeah.
Close.
Oh, totally. Yeah, we're that old.
What diversified manufacturer acquired Polaris and joined it with the Easy Go golf cart company it had also acquired? What company did this?
You going to go first? I have a guess, but I don't know that. it's
Textron.
right. I'm going to say Textron also.
You're both correct. It was Textron. Actually, and further on this, to elaborate, Polaris had choosing to focus on defense contracts. Textron tried to sell Polaris to rival Bombardier. Hopefully I pronounced it right. I never do.
It depends where you're from.
Yeah.
Some people say Bombardier, some people say Bombardier.
But they tried to sell it to them, but the deal fell apart because of the U.S. antitrust resistance, and management instead led a leveraged buyout of the company in 1981.
Is that kind of like the whole skidoo debate?
Yeah.
Nobody's right.
Tomatoes, potatoes.
This one's not quite podcast related, but I thought it was a good one, so I'll throw it out there. Number 7. In the movie Gone in 60 Seconds, released in 2000, what was the code name given to the famous 1967 Shelby Mustang GT500?
Eleanor.
These are easy. It is
My wife got that one.
Let's see if they get this one. Though.
Shaniqua.
This one goes back to a previous podcast, and I totally got it. You totally called me out on this, so it's coming back.
Okay.
The famous cat on The Simpsons by the name of Snowball has been killed how many times since the show has began? Doug, you're up first.
I'm not a Simpsons fan. I mean, not like a rabid watch them all the time fan. I'm familiar and they make me chuckle from time to time. So, 47.
I'm going to say 8.
Chad, you're about the closest. Snowball has been killed 4 times, and they are conveniently Yes, on version 5, V5 Snowball is what it's
V5.
called.
I wasn't sure if this was like a reoccurring gag, like
No,
the
it's
end of South
generally
Park where
not.
Kenny gets killed, you know, or something.
So do I get any internet point for that?
It's got to go to the
No,
judge.
no points
internet?
on that one.
Okay, I'm good with that. You are a fair and just judge.
Number 9, and what percent? Also not related.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. I guess this could possibly be related to your wife and how much you talk about her on the podcast once in a while. But number 9, in what percent?
I might bow out of this one entirely.
Am I being yelled at?
No.
Oh, okay.
You will be soon.
In what percentage of American households do women manage the money and pay the bills?
I was surprised by this one.
I was too.
I was really surprised.
Well, Doug, do you want to go first?
I'm going to say probably... I'm going to go with my gut, 65%.
I'm going to go 70%.
You are closer. It is 75% of American households. The women manage the money and
Not
pay the
surprised.
bills.
Yeah, I'm really not either.
Well, you guys have heard the old saying they used to say back in the 60s, 70s, women control the household pocketbooks. It is.
Yeah, I believe that.
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, most women have a much better idea of what it takes financially to run a house. I mean, they just do.
My wife, she will not send me grocery shopping anymore. Because she's like, I go and I get food for like 2 weeks for $100. You go and you get like a bunch of junk food and you spend $150 and like we're all going to starve.
That's pretty much
I'm
what
like,
happens to me with my wife. Like when we go to the store together, I buy all the ding dongs and the cosmic brownies, and she's like, "Oh, look at the asparagus is on sale," you know, that type of stuff. So,
Well, and Chad and I have gone, we do a lot of traveling, so
Yes.
we'll go someplace to stock up. And I've been kind of trained in that. Well, let's see. By the ounce, this is cheaper, so we'll do this one. And he's just
Ask
like,
Doug.
he just like takes the
Sticks his
cart.
arm on it.
Just walks down
chunk,
like
chunk,
this
chunk.
and just chunks it into the cart.
Doug's like, well, this is cheaper. I'm like, don't care. Not worth my time to figure it out. Chunk, chunk, chunk,
speaking
chunk.
of that, my wife just texted me and said, how's it going?"
It's going.
You haven't spent any
Love you,
money, have
honey.
you?
I'll reply to your text in a minute. Number 10.
Why haven't you texted me back?
This one goes back to Chad's wonderful love of cow belching, burps, farts, and
I'm a giant
Fantastic.
5-year-old.
researchers and you probably know this from actually finding this trivia. Researchers at the Texas Department of Highways in Fort Worth determined the cow population of the U.S. burps some 50 million tons of valuable hydrocarbons into the atmosphere each year. The accumulated burps of 10 average cows could keep a small house adequately heated and a stove operating for how long? 10 average cow burps.
Well, 10 burps over how long? Or just 10 single burps?
Over a year.
Oh,
No.
Just 1 year.
Oh, okay.
10 cows worth of... So 10 burps from...
One
Cows.
cow could heat a house for how
Or
long?
is it 10 cows?
No.
Burps from 10 cows.
It's
Why are you
burps
confusing the question?
I don't
It's
know.
10 burps from one cow could heat a house and keep a stove going for how long?
Actually, it does not say how many burps. It just says 10 average cows.
10
It says the
cows. Oh.
accumulated
So the burps
the
from
accumulated
10 cows.
burps of 10 cows could keep a small house adequately heated and its stove operating for how long?
We're making internet history, but not in any of the right ways right now.
And these are the accumulative burps for a year. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that what it says?
It doesn't specify that, actually.
Oh, okay.
I just read farther up because of the 50 million tons of hydrocarbons each year.
So we're guessing at fictitious numbers that we have no basis. in.
True story.
Awesome.
This is
This is
right
a
up
guess
your normal
anyway,
trivia
so-
alley, Chad.
Yeah, it is. 2 months.
6 months.
1 year.
He was closer.
Now, I wish I would know more information on that because now it's got me curious. I'm going to have to go back and
Do the-
double check that.
I don't know who won. I don't know how many I had.
See, I figured the trivia
Doug
would
won.
be a lot easier.
Yes.
I don't know how far back I was. It probably wasn't too far.
You were
One
a
or two
point.
back.
You're a point and a half behind.
Okay.
I wasn't keeping track total.
Cody seems like one of these people that if you went and watched baseball, you would probably sit there and actually like keep score manually. You seem like that type of
We should've put a
personality. It's not a
whiteboard
disparaging thing.
Yeah.
Just you're very detail oriented.
So, well, with that,
That was the thing.
I think I am going to attempt the sponsors. I'm
sweet!
I'm gonna.
I get a
attempt it.
day off.
Kick
So-
back, relax. Sponsors, we're sorry in advance.
and enjoy the show.
So, first off, Watch Communications. And if I remember correctly, 10% off your first month of service.
Correct.
Hosting with the code Waste of Time.
All lowercase, no space.
All right.
We're helping.
One check.
The next one is TGM Off-Road. Rob, you have Rob back on.
Yeah, we do need to have Rob
They
back
just
on.
got done. They were in, was it Tennessee?
Yeah, they were Ride Royal Blue.
Yeah.
They just got done like today, right?
Yeah, they're coming back. Shane, actually, I owe him a text back. He just texted me and was telling me all about it, and I haven't called him back yet. So.
Yeah, Rob got himself a new machine. He got him an X3 Rock Crawler edition.
Did you know that the whole group started out with like Yamaha only?
I'll tell you a story about that off the air.
Yeah,
I'm in on that, yes.
So the next one, UTV Engineering.
Yep.
correct.
Next one, UTV Door, or was it UTV-doors.com?
You got it?
There you go.
All right. Spangs Fab.
Yep.
Kevin, I love you, buddy. And CW Motorsports.
Yep.
Yes, indeed.
And Harrison Power Sports up
There
in
it
Harrison,
is.
Michigan.
Okay, there you go.
and we can find you guys on Instagram at Eminent Racing,
Correct.
on Facebook /Eminent Racing, which is odd because if you search for Eminent Performance, you guys do come up.
Yeah, actually, if you Google Eminent Performance, the Facebook is the first one up. Our website's like down about 3 spots, but
Yeah.
whatever. If you find us, good enough.
Are you guys on the web? EminentPerformance.com.
Yep.
Correct, Amanda.
And you guys can find blog posts there. Doug writes those.
And those are awesome. I started reading those, and a lot of blogs are not good. Those are good.
Yeah, that's why Doug writes them. Mine would be misspelled and
I
grammar
actually have
Nazis.
found I enjoy writing. It's it's amazing the partnership Chad and I have developed, because literally the stuff I hate doing, he likes, and vice versa. And we
Yeah.
just, I don't want to do that. I'm fine with it, and boom, done.
You know, me and Josh have that similar relationship with the Midwest side-by-side stuff. There's things that I really don't like to do that he's like, oh, that's his forte. You know,
Yeah, good to have a partner.
So what am I missing?
where you can find the podcast at.
Oh, on Google's.
On the Googles.
There's more than
Is
one.
it Google?
Part of the
Play?
interwebs.
Search the interweb in the
Google?
Googles and you'll find.
Yes, Google Play. You're correct.
Google Play, iTunes,
Yep.
Stitcher,
Yep.
and iHeart,
iHeartRadio.
and on YouTube at Eminent Performance as the channel name.
There you
Yes,
go.
indeed.
I think I got it all.
You did.
You did.
Nailed it.
And I didn't have a list.
So if
You
we
did
go on
good.
vacation sometime, maybe we can just have you two just host
Done.
a
Well, at
podcast.
Brimstone, I was prepared to do it, and I just never had the opportunity. So
We did a podcast from there. We did.
yeah, but you guys split it up, so I never.
There's too much content.
Yeah, there was a lot going on.
Way too much valuable information packed into that. I mean, you don't want to miss what we're doing here.
Right.
But
And
hey,
Cody and I are going to continue to our podcast race here.
Feud race,
our
whatever.
points race.
the one thing I have up on Steve on this is like if you start this, you have to finish it, or Steve normally always will finish. You know, without me, I kind of broken the trail. But if we start together, there's really nothing that's going to not let me finish this race. So
Yeah.
True story.
we just got to keep starting them.
I don't know. If you lose your voice, that kind of takes you out of
There
the
you
podcast
go.
runnings.
It definitely doesn't help with announcing. I can tell you that much. So
But-
do you have the sign off ready? Because I kind of have a signature
He has a signature
sign off that I've developed.
You know what? I was trying to think of one honestly, and I don't really have a good one. Do you have one?
I just want to congratulate you guys on 50. I think it's incredible. I mean, really is. I mean, 50 episodes of this, and think about an hour a piece. And I mean, we started. You guys got here at like 3 o'clock, and I don't even know what time it is now. But it's not just an hour. Like there's an hour setup, and you know.
Yeah.
There's
tear down
time
and,
involved.
you
in
know.
It's a thing, that's for sure. Post production. I mean, to get all the stunning visuals and
Please keep up the good work. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Well, no matter where you get your Cowfax from.
Yeah.
that'll work.
No,
Hit it.
You can do it. You can do it.
And no matter where you get your Cowfax from, thanks for riding along with us.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Tired of going down, tired of myself, tired of this town.